Hey everyone, if you've ever felt just completely empty inside, even while you're constantly giving, teaching, and showing up for others, I want you to know right off the bat, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're diving into a really quiet, often hidden struggle that so many dedicated folks face. We're drawing on some profound insights from IERA, Australia's Dawah Gems. We're going to break down the actual architecture of spiritual burnout. But more importantly, we're going to see how the sources map out a super clear, incredibly empathetic path to healing and refueling the caller.
Think about a watering can for a second. You could be the most dedicated gardener on the planet, but if you tip that can over and literally nothing comes out, well, it doesn't really matter how much you care about those flowers, right? Burnout sneaks up on us when we're trying to sustain and nourish everybody else while our own spiritual reservoir is just bone dry. As our source material perfectly points out, you simply cannot pour out what you haven't poured in.
To navigate our restorative journey today, we're following a straightforward three-part path. First, the weight of Dawah. Second, the divine maintenance schedule. And third, practical steps to heal.
Okay, let's dive right into part 1, the weight of Dawah, identifying the emptiness.
Look, carrying the message of Islam is heavy. It's an absolutely massive responsibility. And when there's a huge imbalance between your public output, the constant teaching, advising, being the go-to person, and your private input, like personal worship and just finding some stillness, well, the tank inevitably empties. Hitting a wall doing this work isn't a sign of weakness, guys. It's a completely predictable outcome. The goal here is to literally reverse that ratio. We need more private remembrance and less public output, at least until your soul is full again.
I want to offer you a really powerful reframe from our sources. Your burnout? It is not a failure. It's actually spiritual rust. It's this slow, entirely natural deterioration of the heart that happens over time when there's constant outward exertion but zero inward spiritual purification. It makes sense, right? Just like metal rusts when it's left out in the elements, the heart gathers rust when it's constantly exposed to output without proper care.
And we see this concept so beautifully diagnosed in the Sunnah. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, literally noted that hearts rust just as iron rusts, and he prescribed the recitation of the Qur'an and the remembrance of death to polish them. The takeaway here is huge. When you are running on empty, just sit with the Qur'an. Not to prepare your next halaqah, not to find the perfect talking point, but simply to let it wash over your own heart. It is the exact, immediate polish you need.
Now, what's super interesting is how the sources address this in part 2, the divine maintenance schedule, refilling the reservoir.
So our sources reveal that Allah has actually already provided a very precise maintenance schedule for all this heavy lifting. Just look at this early revelation from Surah Al-Mazama. Before the Prophet was ever commanded to go out and deliver the message of Islam publicly, he was commanded to stand in the night prayer. Guys, the sequence here is absolutely everything. The private spiritual preparation came way before the public weight. If you're burning out, it's almost certainly because you're carrying the weight of the work without drawing on the specific source of strength prescribed for it.
And that brings us straight to Tahajjud. Rather than looking at it as just some extra prayer if you have time, think of it as your deep, unseen root system. Those roots, they literally have to grow in the dark, quiet hours of the night before the tree can ever hope to withstand the crazy public storms of the day.
Furthermore, Surah Taha establishes this beautiful protective rhythm for the day, glorifying the praises of your Lord before sunrise and before sunset. This remembrance at the bookends of your day isn't just some optional spiritual luxury for the super pious. It is the prescribed, absolutely required daily fuel that sustains literally everything you do in between.
Now notice the absolutely crucial point here. The highest form of remembrance is internal, humble, and completely private. Your private, hidden remembrance is your secret reservoir. You absolutely must fill your soul in stillness behind closed doors before it can ever healthily overflow to other people out in public.
Think about it. When you are totally drained, what's your natural instinct? It's to hide, right? We all just want to isolate. But Surah Al-Kahf provides a completely different cure. It tells us to keep our souls in the company of those who call upon their Lord. The cure for burnout isn't isolation. And let's be real, it definitely isn't more event planning either. It's simply seeking out the warm, sincere company of righteous people.
All right, moving into the really actionable phase. Part 3, practical steps to heal, repairing the roots.
So how do we actually establish these habits in our busy, modern lives?
Based on decades of Dawah experience from our sources, start with a non-negotiable 10 minutes of daily Qur'an reading, and I mean purely for yourself. Then, revive that unseen root system with Tahajjud, even if it's literally just 2 rak'ahs 3 times a week. It makes a difference. Also, joining a weekly halaqah purely for your own personal growth is essential. The golden rule here is profound. You absolutely must feed yourself as a Muslim first before you feed yourself as a caller to Islam.
You also desperately need deliberate rest. That means blocking out a structured monthly rest day, completely away from all Dawah activity. No WhatsApp groups, no planning committees, just nature, your family, and pure worship. And crucially, speak openly to a trusted mentor or an Islamic counselor about how you're feeling. Actually naming your exhaustion accelerates your healing way faster than trying to just quietly push through it all by yourself.
Here's a really fascinating challenge straight from the text. The 20% rule. Try to deliberately reduce your current Dawah schedule by just 20% for 1 month. It sounds super counterintuitive, but doing a little bit less actually dramatically increases your quality of presence and the pure sincerity of your conversations.
And this perfectly illustrates some core prophetic wisdom from Sahih al-Bukhari. The Prophet warned against depletion through overexertion, reminding us that the most beloved deed to Allah is the most regular and consistent one, even if it's small. Think about that for a second. Allah wants sustainable, decades-long devotion from you. That is infinitely more valuable to the mission than an intense, spectacular, but ultimately short-lived burnout.
Another highly practical tool we found is keeping a specialized gratitude journal, specifically just for your Dawah work. Right after a session, just jot down one single moment of barakah or blessing. Note one tiny sign of Allah's hand at work. When you're burned out, all you see are the storm clouds, right? Well, this journal acts like sunlight breaking through. It totally reframes the exhaustion and makes your real-world progress visible to you again.
As we start to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this deeply reassuring passage from Surah Al-Inshirah. For indeed, with hardship will be ease. Notice how it says with hardship. The ease actually exists simultaneously with your burnout. It's already woven into it, not just waiting for you way off on the other side. And the divine cure for all that emptiness is so direct. When you finally finish your tasks, return to your Lord and direct all your longing right back to the source.
The work of calling others is beautiful, for sure. But remember, the vessel doing the calling desperately requires maintenance. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep running until the rust completely takes over, or will you choose to pause and build those unseen roots? Will you choose a sustainable spark or a rapid burnout? I really hope you choose to prioritize your own spiritual healing. Fill your reservoir in private first and then just watch how beautifully it overflows.